watching the chat box. And if there are any questions, feel free to just jump in, Ashley, and just shout at me and we will make it happen, okay? So I think I'm going to go ahead and present my screen now and let's get started, right? So just want to verify, Ashley, you guys are seeing a slide presentation, correct?
Yes, we are.
Awesome. Okay. So, you know, today's topic was classroom management with computers in the classroom or from a distance. And I added that because we don't know if we'll be in a classroom or from a distance. But there are some principles and ideas that are going to be relevant no matter what our situation is. And that's a super urgent thing for all of us right now, right? Just be as prepared as possible and just have a great attitude and be willing to keep learning and going forward. As I was looking at some things to get ready and go forward, one article that I thought was cool was Behavioral Approaches to Classroom Management. And in it, I started looking and, it talked about these blurry things down here. They're blurry because I really don't care to spend too much time on them. And I started thinking about classroom management and what that means. I'm super curious to hear any comments, so just put them in the chat box and Ashley will read them out. When you hear classroom management, what are you thinking about? Like, what's some of the first words that come into your brain?
You guys can shout them out. Enabling all to learn, keeping students on task, unruly students, order.
Okay.
Participation.
Awesome. Now,
routines, behaviors, student engagement.
Awesome. I love that. We're getting a wide variety, and I'm not here to be judgmental or say one thing is better than another. But if you listen to those, some of them I think lean on the side of wanting to make kids compliant and kind of direct what they're doing, right? And today we're not going to talk necessarily about that. And the reason that we're not going to focus on that is because if we're learning from a distance and a kid is at home, really I feel like that's kind of a losing battle, right? I mean, how do you control what a kid is doing when they're 5 miles away from you or 15 miles away from you? It's challenging enough when they're in the same classroom, right? And so during our discussion today, and if I click back here on the title, you'll notice I'm calling this an idea and discussion workshop. And I just kind of want to set the stage right now of what we're going to be doing. We're going to be talking about ideas, and I really want to encourage everybody to use the chat box when it comes up. And you're going to see there's going to be some specific questions that we'll be discussing. Share those ideas, but also, let me admit these people. Share those ideas, but also be open to other people's ideas. And my focus today is going to be based around this statement: no discipline model. And back here, if you want to read Dr. Landrum and Kaufman's work, they talk about positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, extinction, all those things. None of those can be truly effective if you don't have a sense of community in your classroom. So as we work today, as always, I'm going to show you some tools that you can use, but they're going to be with the intention of helping you build community and therefore have great classroom management in your classroom. So it'll be kind of that order: know the tool, build the community, have a great classroom environment or classroom management. So I want to talk to you why I feel that's important. And to do that, I want to show you these guys. Does anybody know who either of these people are?
Michael Jordan.
Michael Jordan is on the left, yes. So does anybody know who's on the right?
Is it his coach?
Yes, it is his coach. Dean Smith was his coach at University of North Carolina. And Dean Smith is an awesome example of knowing how to build community. When I was much younger, I read a book. It was called The Carolina Way. It was about Dean Smith. And in it, there were some really awesome examples of how he built community. And I want to highlight some of them just to get us going, because I took his ideas and I tried them out for myself and had great success with them. First one, if you watch basketball, have you ever seen, like, after somebody does something awesome, the dude will point to their teammate like, hey, thanks for that awesome pass? Have you ever seen that? That was actually something that Dean Smith invented. Now, John Wooden, he had encouraged his players beforehand, like back in the 60s, to like wink or just say thanks or something like that. But Dean Smith started, and he actually demanded that his players make that gesture, like a full arm extended point to your teammate if they gave you a good pass and so you scored. That was like one of his guidelines to build that community. Another thing I thought was really cool was his players, he gave them a signal. And a lot of people will use that now. It's either like the moving the fingers or like touching your head. That means like, dude, I'm super tired and I need to take a rest. And he would never pull a player for making a mistake, but he would pull them out of the game for lack of effort. Okay. And I thought that was a great guideline. And so if a player were to say, hey, I'm tired, so I don't want to be mistaken of not giving great effort, they had the right to say when they would go back in the game too. So it was like a self-subbing. But the last thing that I thought was really super cool, let this last person in, was he talked about in his book, The Carolina Way, he didn't have a lot of team rules. And when I think about that, I think about classroom rules, right? Instead, he just had some goals that his community or his team wanted to always make sure they were working towards. And he helped the people on his team to value these same ideals. And so everybody would go for them. So an example of some of his team ideals were, we will not do anything that will demean our personal reputation or the reputation of our program. So that can cover a lot of things. It's very flexible, and the coach gets to decide if somebody's doing something that's bringing down the reputation of the program or the individual. Another one was, I won't do anything that will inhibit the ability of myself or my teammates to win or be successful. And so he would manage his team based on those ideas. So maybe a person came late to practice. Instead of having a rule that said, you will be to practice 5 minutes before, or you'll be there right on time, he'd ask them what's going on, and if there was a legit thing going on and the person was, maybe helping somebody change their tire on the way to the practice, it wasn't a big deal. But if it was a big deal, then he would take care of it. But he gave himself that flexibility. And as we go through today, I hope you'll think about maybe what are some of the norms that you would like to have in your room. So, and what that room could be digital or it could be physical, right? But instead of having just, a bunch of really rigid rules, think about how having some norms would be more appropriate. And if we have norms that apply to both in-person and online learning, they're useful. So let's set the stage by saying, what are some ideas or some norms? And I think that's number one if you're using the note taker. Set the stage with your big 3 community norms. So as you're thinking about that, I want to show you the first tool that might be useful to promote that. So I'm going to go to a website that I really love. It's called, and maybe a lot of you are familiar with it. It's called Canva. Now, the reason I like Canva is because it gives like a big burst of, this is cool. Oh, Ashley, maybe you're not the only one with internet today. Okay. I'm closing tabs all over the place. Closing that one, closing that one. Okay, so Canva would allow you to make something quickly that would get a lot of attention, right? You all might recognize this one. This is the flyer I made for these workshops, and I made it in Canva, obviously. But if you go to canva.com, if you haven't already, I'd encourage you to sign up, not just for the free account, but you can get a free premium account by using your educator's email and just request a free premium account. Super awesome. So if I were starting my class and I was thinking I want to build this great community, I want to show that it's important to me, and it's something that's cool, and it's something that's really fun to be a part of, right? And you need to give that great first impression. So on the note taker, I put create a movie poster. So I'm going to come here and show you how you might start that. Obviously, we're not going to make an entire movie poster today, but if I just click on templates here at the top, I'm going to turn on my little glowy icon thing. Maybe I'm not. Okay, so if I go to flyers, that's my favorite. You see all of these templates that are here. Now, any of these templates, you just need to look at it like, okay, that's the main, like the general design I want. Like this one, for example. If you don't want pumpkins, just know you can change anything on here. You can change any of the text, any of the fonts, any of the pictures. It just gives you like a template, like a general outline of what it's going to look at. So if I were looking for something with just 2 or 3 general norms that I wanted to communicate with my team or my class, you know, maybe I'd have something like this. This has 3 bubbles, right? And I'm going to say, I want to use this template. And from here, you know, I can just start searching for things. I'm going to say photos. I want happy photos. So the first one would be come with a positive attitude, right? And so maybe, oh, look at this girl. She's got a great positive attitude. I just drag this on here, and boom, now I don't have a car. I've got a girl with a positive attitude. And maybe a norm would be whenever you're in my classroom, you're going to give great effort. And look at this bro here, like with his pushing a rock. That might represent it. And you get the idea, right? And if I want to change this, I might put Mr. Waite's class norms. And maybe down here, I replace this big one with the 3 in a row, and, you know, be happy, work hard, and, you know, I don't know, I might think a little bit more about the other one. But if you build something like that, it's going to be way more eye-catchy than like just a document with just text, right? So the first part that we're working on today here in making a community. Okay, I'm not going to let anybody else in. I don't. Okay, last person. Okay, is set the stage, show some excitement, give them something that they're eager to look forward to. Now, as you're thinking about norms for your class, I'm kind of curious if you put in the chat box or anything like that. What are some that came up? And if Ashley wouldn't mind sharing that, that would be cool. And then we're going to definitely move on to the next thing.
Hey, and Nate, on the Canva, Can you make a paper copy, or can you
Oh.
send it to your student?
Yes and yes. So once you've created everything you want, when you come up here to the upper right-hand corner, it's default, it says print flyers, but I hardly ever print things. You can see if I select that, I can put it directly on my Google Classroom. Something very handy if you want to send it home to parents, you say download, and you can download these in a lot of different formats. I like downloading a PDF. And you can even say, like this one, you can see there's actually 2 pages. I don't even know what the second page is because I wasn't looking at it. But I'm like, I just want page 1. And then when I click done, it's going to download the PDF of this. And so I could attach this to an email. Or if I went back here, I could just go right into Google Classroom. That was an excellent question. If I was a Facebook master, I could throw it right up there on Facebook. All kinds of ways to share it. So super fun and useful. And then you'll see when I go back to my home, if I say all my designs, it's saved in here. So I could come back here at any time, copy it, look at it, change it up a little bit. And you could see I use this for all different kinds of things. And it's kind of, to tell you the truth, it's kind of addicting because you get in there and you're like, oh, that's fun. That's pretty cute. And you can see they have so many templates. I want to show you one more thing really quick. I know I said we were going to go on, but this one's just too cool not to go on. You also, if you have personal images, you can upload them here. So here you can see these are all things that I've uploaded. Here's some icons. They're kind of dark, but I upload all kinds of things, and then I can use those in my documents. So to make it more personal for you. So set that scene with a fancy or a nice, happy tone. Okay, you're going to set the tone, and that's really a lot about what I'm going to talk about today. Is you setting the tone for your class. Okay, and that's going to start with a happy, awesome, I care, and you've got your norms set. So Ashley, were there any awesome norms that got typed in the chat box?
Yes, Kristen is our one and only overachiever. She posted 3.
Excellent.
Be on time and ready to learn. Use technology as a tool for its intended purpose. And then responsible for your own learning and respectful of others' learning.
Oh, I love that respect one. That's awesome. They're all good, but I think respect's always super urgent, right?
We have so learn from your mistakes and be a team player.
Excellent. Excellent. Now, can you kind of get the idea if you come into a class and if you're a student, if you're hearing, yeah, we're going to respect each other, we're going to learn from our mistakes, we're going to be a team player, that comes across a lot better than don't go on YouTube, don't play Pac-Man, you know, it's just a better vibe. So that's my number one thing. I'm into attitudes and things like that. Now, the second part of building our technology, our classroom technology plan would be we need to set up some ways for people to know that they can communicate. I've been involved in a lot of surveys with parents and kids in different districts and seeing a lot of things. And a real common concern / angry point of other people when it comes to learning from a distance is there wasn't good communication. And so let's think about what is your communication plan for this year. Now, I want to demonstrate something for you. I feel bad, but we did say if people came in, I'm such a softie. Okay, so I'm going to show you here, and we're going to practice a way that you can do classroom discussions. And this is a great way. This is related to classroom management, because if people feel like they're involved in things instead of just watching from a distance, they're going to be involved. So over here, you see I put on this slide Q1. That stands for question number 1, right? So over here in the chat box, when you want to answer question 1, I'm going to ask that you just go A1. So if I were answering this, what's my communication plan? So what are my hours, my methods, and the frequency that will be best for me and my students? Well, when I'm talking about this, I'm saying I'm going to set specific hours so I don't go insane, right? I'm not going to be answering something at 1 a.m. So I'm going to put that in a plan and give to my kids. I will be available to communicate between this time and this time. The methods, I will say, I'm not into you texting me on my personal cell phone, but I will reply to your emails. And the frequency or the schedule. This would be, you can expect me to reply to your email within 24 hours maybe. And my schedule will be, I will make sure that I put all announcements or important informations out to you every Tuesday morning, right? So kind of think of those things for your communication plan. And while you're thinking of them, let's practice an interactive way to do this. So if I was in the class, I would say A1 or answer to number 1. I'm going to say, don't burn myself out. 3 a.m. off limits. And so all of you and me as the teacher, when I'm just looking here and I'm going to watch the chat box for a while, I can know exactly what you are replying to because it's going to say A1, that is answer 1, which corresponds to question 1. And so go ahead and think about your personal communication methods, what you're going to do. And if you would like to share, just go ahead and put A1 for answer 1 and put it in there. And I'm going to show you later why that's a super useful tool for you as a teacher. So just as a review, while you're thinking about that, our first 2 topics to help you in classroom management would be set norms, and number 2, have a communication plan that is public, that parents know, that students know, that everybody knows. And you can decide your own hours, your own methods, and what your schedule is going to work out best for you and your kids, right? If you don't plan that, then it kind of gets planned for you by just random people who are living all different kinds of schedules, getting in touch with you just when they can. So that's a big part of classroom management. So I'm starting to see some responses come in, and I see they're all labeled A1. So if I were the teacher here today, I would know that, oh, okay, I know what people are talking about. It's not just random comments mixed in. And as we go through and get some more questions, even if somebody responds to the first question a little bit late, I'm still going to know what it applies to, right? So let's keep going on to item number 3 in your behavior plan. And that is prepare a way for kids to know where they can go if they're stuck. And that's important. In a classroom, it's easy for a student to raise their hand. But if you're teaching with technology and you're not right there, or maybe they're working and you guys aren't even online, that can be frustrating. And some kids, if you're not able to, even have a hope of, I know where I can go for help, then, you kind of get some less than positive outcomes, right? So for that, I'm going to close some tabs so I don't freeze all this up again. But I'd like to make a suggestion that we use Google Classroom or whatever learning management system you use to do this. So you can see I'm just going to open up the Nate's practice class. And what I want to do, and I would definitely share this with my kids right up front, is I want to make a resources place on my classwork page. Now, if I build it here, it's going to happen that it's going to be available for them too. So to do that, I just go create a topic, and I'm going to call this if you need help. Okay. And it's down here at the bottom. And for me, I think this should be at the top. So I'm going to grab it by left clicking and moving up all the way to the top. And the if you need help, it's going up. It's going way up. It's like a spaceship flying way up. What? I let go of it on the wrong spot. Okay, spaceship relaunching. Relaunching. Oh my word, Nate. I am not Elon Musk right now. Okay. See if it'll go here. Okay. I'm just going to do it the old-fashioned way. By clicking on the 3 dots, I'm going to say move it up. Let's keep going. Move it up. Move it up. I don't know why it wasn't moving up. I am scared to check my bandwidth right now. So moving up, moving up. I'm going to move it all the way to the top. I can't stop going up higher and higher. Okay, I am at the top because these are just random things that I haven't categorized yet. Okay, so when I want to put something, I want to give you some ideas here. I'm just going to go to a material, right? I'm going to say, check this out. Help with everything. If I were taking time, I would put a better description, right? But if you haven't referred your kids to ck12.org, you're missing out. So ck12.org is a common resource page where all kinds of things can be there. Now I'm just going to come over here. I'm going to say, I want to put this under my if you need help, and then post it. And now if I'm in the if you need help section, come on, Nate, scroll right. You can see, check out this website for help with everything. And so if they go here, I'm just going to show it to you because it is really nice. You can say, oh man, I'm working on math. I'm 7th grader and I'm struggling. This is all sorted by everything, right? I'm like, oh, cool. Well, we have been talking about ratios. What? Oh, yeah, multi-step ratio problems. What is this? And boom, I'm right in here. It's like a lesson with like examples, with all kinds of things to help. And then it gives you other links too. So giving kids hope that they can be successful is a big part of classroom management. And so building that resource page is my number 3 suggestion that will be very helpful for you, right? So please don't leave your kids without a list of resources. Maybe you have your own resources you want to share, and that's okay too. Number 4, I'm going to, just because of time, I'm going to kind of skip. Number 4, I said, you be the one that sets the tone, right? And I kind of talked about that. Building a team is much greater than trying to force compliance. Monitoring learning is way more efficient than monitoring assignments. You know, if you're just monitoring assignments, you're like, hey, you have 3 missing assignments. You have 3 zeros. You have this. Monitoring learning, you're like, what have you learned? So keep those focuses. And there's a space when you have more than an hour, you can type some ideas in there. So those are all things that go under the title, preparations that you could work on even before school starts, right? Well, once school starts, things speed up. But we still need to now help kids see your plans. So section number 2 here includes things for creating that community feel in the first week or maybe weeks of school. Okay, if you can hear that, don't worry. That is not nuclear war. In Fallon, they just have a siren that calls all the firemen when there's an emergency. So we're all gonna live. Okay, so let's take a look at what we can do to set up that first week of school why would you want to invest time, and what you can do to help so that you don't have permanent struggles throughout the year? Well, the first thing that you probably want to do, and that's on your template, and I'm gonna let you do that on your own, but would be think about what would be 3 things that kids did or will have struggles with if they're learning from a distance. And if you want to share some right now, just with the group, I'd love to hear your ideas. I heard quite a few ideas on other surveys, but I would love to hear what you felt were challenges that kids had during learning from a distance.
Yes. Yes. Getting parents on board is kind of what we're talking about here in class, Nate.
Okay. Yeah, that's tough, right?
But online, in the chat box, home distractions, parent support, virtual learning behavior, staying on task, strong internet service, no tech devices, motivation, time management.
All very valid things, right? Those are definitely tough. I have some comments on a couple, and I'm not saying that, there's like a magic pill that's going to solve everything, but what about this one? Stacy put parents working different hours and motivation. It's tough. What if you have like a 3rd grader at home alone and you're hoping they're motivated, right? And mom, dad aren't there. If I were thinking, okay, and if I'm on my outline and I'm writing, what might be a struggle for a kid? That's a legit one, right? Or here's a related one. Wonder if you have a kid who has 3 brothers and sisters, and you said, hey, my class is going to have a meet at 10 o'clock. And the brothers teacher said, yeah, at 10 o'clock, we're going to have a meet. And the little sisters got to watch some YouTube videos, and their internet just can't handle that. What's a way you could think about fixing that? Can you think of an idea? Because you can't control other teachers' schedules either most of the time, right? I've seen schools try to set schedules, and some of the teachers follow them and some don't. Well, I'm going to pop in. Go ahead, please.
We have a comment here in class.
So with in some other places, people are really busy. So I would give out, here's on Friday, I give the homework. And they have a whole weekend, but the whole next week of Friday, just giving them that whole week.
She's saying giving them more time to complete something. So for instance, like she'd give a homework assignment on a Friday and they'd have the whole weekend in the following week to complete it.
There you go. So being flexible at the calendar, right? I think that relates to what was in my mind. Maybe we don't always require kids to be on every online meeting. Or if they can't be on it live,
the recording feature, Nate.
Give a recording, right? Exactly. Record it and say, if you want to watch it later, you can do that. That might work too. Excellent, Ashley. I love those ideas. Another struggle that was kind of on my brain was there were some kids that really legit didn't know how to use all the tools, right? Like they didn't know how to turn something in with Google Classroom necessarily, or they didn't know how to manage their email effectively or their calendar or something like that. Maybe those are things that you could think of here and think, okay, maybe I want to do a little bit of a training with my kids before I get into like heavy duty, like content material. And I think that's a good thing to consider as you're building this plan. And of course, that's what this is about, right? You're taking notes and you're going to make your own behavior plan. But I think part of your behavior plan has got to be pick at least 3 big struggles that you think might destroy kids' motivation, and think what kind of trainings you could do to help them. And I put another box right below that. You might collaborate with somebody else. And like, you know, if you're going to have the same struggle as some other teacher that you like working with, you can create one solution and they can create one solution, whether it's a help video or whether it's whatever it is, right? But you don't have to do everything yourself. Okay. So I'm going to, wow, you know, an hour really goes fast. It's kind of sad, but we'll do what we can do. So my next thought about building this community is helping kids to have a glossary of terms that you can just use to signal expectations. If you're in a class, that's easy, right? It could be like, close your device, or no devices, please, or eyes up, or something like that. But you might think of a list of a few things that you use and then use those same words over and over. And that will be helpful in building a community because everybody's going to know what's expected. The next one, I want to do a little activity to show you. It's another tool that maybe you'll find useful. Is when can you use a community board to learn about your students' interests or allow them to share? And so I'm just going to show you a Jamboard here. And a Jamboard is just a way to collect like virtual sticky notes with ideas. Now, if I wanted to get to this point and do this on my own, I'll show you how. I just go to all the Google tools, and it's going to be in here. On this account, there it is down here. And I would just click on Jamboard, and then I would have the little plus in the bottom right-hand corner. And I just say, boom, I want to create a Jamboard. All right. Now, I'm getting too many accounts open.
Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Oh, I will make it bigger. Okay. So it's getting really big. Okay, so I go here, click on Jamboard, and then in the bottom right-hand corner, I have an orange circle with a plus. And if I hover over that, it says New Jam. And it's funny, but you know, using activities and interactive things like this are a big part of classroom behavior. Now, I'm actually going to come back here. Actually, I'm going to come all the way back here. And I want honest answers right now. I'm demanding your honesty, okay? How many of you have been checking phones like text or email or something like that during this presentation? Go ahead, confess it in the chat box right now. Or maybe doing some kind of other work or something like that.
We have 4 out of 10 in our room here.
Okay, that's awesome. That's pretty low, actually. I would probably think it would be higher, right? I mean, I know, I'll be honest with you, even while I'm presenting, I got a text from somebody and I had to just glance at it. It happens. So as part of my classroom behavior, instead of worrying about like, hey, don't do that or don't do this, sometimes it pays just to let it go. And now let's come back to the Jamboard and say, what's up, you know, let's go ahead and use this. What's something you've learned since March that you value? So I could put this up for my class, and it's a quick way to have an online discussion. It's just another way, right? If I wanted to add something, I can add an image. I can add a sticky notes, the easiest way. So I could just be like this. I'm going to say, I've enjoyed learning better video methods, creation methods, right? And I can make it different colors. And then when I save it, it just pops up here, right? And why not all of you go ahead and I'm gonna put this link in the chat box.
Hey Nate, I have a quick
Okay.
question. We don't have the Jamboard app when we click on.
Okay.
Our Google Apps.
Okay.
And then when I click on that, all the way down, more from G Suite Marketplace, even when I go in there and search it, it's not coming up.
It's not there. Okay. So, and I guess every district's different, right? This is a newer tool.
Okay.
And so maybe it just has not been activated. What you would need to do would just be, check with your administrators, but I'm sure they wouldn't mind you using it. They probably just don't know about it. And then get your Google Admin Console administrator to go in and turn this feature on, and then it will appear. Okay. I do see some other people are joining, and I'd love for you guys to join by going over here to the left and creating a sticky note and just adding it. So you could see what I've done up here is I put my question up at the top, and if I were to go to these buttons on the top, I can put a lot of, I guess we'll call it pages on here, so I could have different questions, being very patient. So people are starting to add. As you add more sticky notes, I'm going to come here and I'm going to show you. I can change my backgrounds really easily if I want dots. Also, I can easily zoom it in if I want it to be bigger to show you. And as a teacher, I can come over here with a pen and I could be like, yeah, being very patient, that's a big deal. And I'm making marks and everybody's seeing it, right? If I want to organize, I'll select this little select arrow and I can grab things and move them around. If I want to sort, and you can sort as well, so we can get ideas up here and then sort them. I can use my laser just to show you what I'm talking about and be like, hey, look at this one. I created a YouTube channel. That's awesome. That's super great. And so this is another way, I know we're looking at tools and things like that, but this is another way. I'm going to toggle off. I'll come back in a second to just build that community, because what we're doing is we're going to be using a community board to learn about people's interests and ideas. If we were going to be together all the time, I could come back here and I'm always doing, it's what some people call ABCD. Always be connecting the dots, right? So I'm going to always be connecting the dots. I'm going to be like, learning to be very patient. This person may have had some frustrating experiences. I created a YouTube channel. Oh, that's cool. This person is doing read alouds with that. So they're kind of open to trying new things, and I'm just always connecting the dots and I'm learning about my audience or my group, right? To be present and available. Awesome. So you can see kind of how a community board would help me to always be connecting the dots or learning more about my students. Oof, this time, right? So I'm gonna have to start choosing what we're going to. Yes, go ahead.
Nate, we have one is, can students comment on each other's?
Yeah, so let's just try that out. So let's say I'm the teacher. I'm like, try new online platforms. Hey, can anybody add to this? Put a little box here on some online platforms you've learned or online tools. That might be one way, right? And so if somebody will put, let's say this was an online tool, we can start grouping them like this, making them touch. Also, you always have these three. If you're a teacher and somebody put this, I know it's not really a question, but if somebody's like out of their mind, you don't have to get bent out of shape, just delete their stuff. You're done, right? But the way to comment to other people's things would be making little boxes and kind of, it's a way of organizing ideas. Go ahead, Ashley.
Does it tell you who posted?
Nope. It does not. So that's one thing. Now we're all anonymous. If I was in everybody in the same domain, you know how your little profile thing pops up here. So I would see who's in here. But I think I would like to encourage people. Actually, that's not true. Look, here's this little, I'm knowing that the iguana person did this. The anonymous iguana did this one. Let's see if it pops up on everybody's. Oh, what? See, I can see who's doing it. So people are drawing. Well, I saw you, you little koala bear or whatever you are, right? But I want to get back to that thought. I'm not going to say that everybody's going to be angels all the time, right? But if I'm worried about that, then I'm worried about controlling their behavior rather than worrying about controlling the norms. So let's say somebody makes a box that says, Mr. Waite is a complete idiot and I hate him, right? I could be like, who did that? I'm going to punish you. You know, I'm going to deny you access. Or I could say, you know, sometimes I do idiotic things. That's true. But let's think about our norms. Be respectful. Do you think that's really respectful? And then just go on. And I'd say that. I'd click on it. I delete it. And then I'd just go on. That's my personal way of handling something like that. Now, if it was over and over and over and over and over again, then I might go to a private conversation. But never make your behavior more of a hassle than for you than it is for the kid, right? Don't let yourself get too busy with things like that. Okay, so discussion board. I'm going to take a look here. You know, I really feel like we might have to skip some things. We got big struggles, collaborate. Okay, I really want to share some other ways to encourage discussion in the class. So I'm going to pull something up here that we can kind of play with. First of all, I'm going to show you this. So if we had more time, we would have gone slower and we would have had Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, right? Well, I want to show you something here. This is why that synchronous discussion can be, this is how you can use it, right? So you could see this document came to me last week after our YouTube tutorial meeting. And you could see what it did was it took the name and the, you know, it gives me some information about actually their IP address and everything. So I know who said what in the chat. So if I wanted to keep track of chatting in my lesson, if I'm recording it, just know you're going to get a copy like this. And if I had, you know, A1, A2, so maybe Stacy Manning put A1, ... I'm like, oh, there's her answer to A1. I can just glance and I can know who's participating, right? Or I can follow up and I can say, thanks for your input. I really like that comment, things like that. I just wanted you to know that for synchronous chat, like we've been trying to practice a little bit, you will get a transcript. So that's a big deal for some people. They want to have a transcript. The second thing that you can do, maybe you want to have asynchronous conversations with your students. Now, asynchronous would be, you know, like they're going to give a response and it might be at midnight, it might be tomorrow or whenever, right? So this is a quick and easy way to keep track of asynchronous, like make a message board or a discussion board using Google Sheets. So if you all want to get on here, I'm going to put this in the chat box and we can kind of practice with it, right? Yeah, Pear Deck can do some similar things. I'm just glancing. Padlet can do that. Carson doesn't like Padlet. Okay. Yeah, it would be nice to see who's posting. So let's take a look. I want to take a look at this. I wanted to make sure to show you this before we lose time. And I'm sorry we are going to run out of time today, but we'll do our best, right? So if you jump on here, you could see what I've done is I've just put my question on the top. This is actually question 2, because at the bottom, and I'm going to enlarge my screen a little bit before I get told to enlarge the screen. I have question 1 is one tab. Question 2 would be a second tab, and I could just keep adding, right? If I wanted to do this easily, I would just say I want to duplicate this one, and then I would change the question. Leave all the directions and all these already set up. But so here's a good one. Let's all go on to question 2. Those of you who are on, I can see we got a few people. Now the directions say to add a row to the thread, all you have to do is right click. And this is maybe something you'd have to show your kids once, but once you're done, right? You're gonna right click on the row number and choose insert one below. And it would make a new list. So let's say, for example, if I was filling this out, I'm gonna say, Nate, my response to the question, how do I care for myself? I like to watch soccer matches to chill. Okay, that's my response. This is a response to this question, the question that I answered, or that was asked. If I had a link, like to a free YouTube TV account or something, maybe I could put it, whatever, right? And so anyone who wants can add things. And I'd invite a couple people. I see we got 6 people on. Oh, wow, we don't. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 11 of you on. Go ahead and type just a quick little response. Awesome. So exercise, great. So you could be specific. You could say, you know, type a paragraph, type whatever you want. I'm going to do something really quick just to show you something that does annoy people. So let's say this was my response, right? And it was super long. When I come here, I want it to be like everything seen. And the way you do that, if you don't know, just go to format and you want text wrapping on. If you don't, it's not going to all be in one box. It's going to overflow and it's going to be sloppy, right? So we have a couple comments. So I'm going to show you another way that like this response to a comment column can be good. And this is what turns it into a discussion board. So let's say I wanted to comment on Susan's, Susan says she likes to exercise. I'm going to come here, right click, and I'm going to say insert one below. And so it's not going to mess up if there were other things here. And I'm coming over here to this, and I'm going to put my name again, so everybody knows this was my comment, but I'm going to put it on responses to a comment. I'm going to say, yeah, I like to walk our dogs. We go all over the place. Okay, and then as this gets built, I see, oh, this was Susan. She said this, and Nate had a response to this. If somebody else had a response to exercise, they could do the same thing, and they would just put it here. And so the responses will have all of the response to that comment. The comments will have all the responses just in order. It's kind of a interesting way to organize and make a discussion board. I know that's one thing that people have really wanted in Google Classroom. There's not like discussion boards like in Canvas or something like that, but it's super useful to do this, right? Well, I'm gonna take a look at my watch, and I'm gonna say wow, because we are definitely just about out of time. I do want to finish by saying, I know that the title of this was about classroom management, and maybe I took a direction that you were not expecting, right? Because for me, classroom management is not about telling kids what they can do and can't do. I taught for 18 years, and back when I started teaching, people would talk about having good rapport. To me, that means just having a good community in your class. And I'm not saying every day was like perfect in my class, but I felt happy when I was in my class, and I liked just kind of, experiencing, learning, and teaching with my students. And you know, did they misbehave sometimes? Yeah, they probably did. But I honestly just, you know, by focusing on having a good community, that's what I remember, right? I remember fun times and funny things we did, and we did all kinds of learning too, right? And it doesn't have to be a compliance issue when we're talking about learning and behavior. And so I'd like to encourage you to use the note taker to build a community, whether you're live sitting with your students or whether you are completely online. And I want to tell you from my experience, I know that building a community will pay off for you. Anytime you are worried, like I don't have enough time to cover all my content or whatever, anytime you invest in really building a true community with your students will be a great investment, because first of all, you won't go out of your mind. And second of all, you know, you'll feel happy and you'll get better results from the kids, which is what we're looking for. So I definitely appreciate that. I appreciate all of you again, and for the ideas that you have shared. I'm putting the link so you can get your certificate in the chat box at this time. And at this time, I'm going to end the recording, but I will stay online. If anybody wants to stay on for a while and discuss any of the ideas or any of the tools that we use today, I'd be happy to review those with you.